will continue with the 8th chapter of The Embroidered Sunset by Joan Aiken. "Your Lucy sent you a parcel now," sniffed D. Lawrence, stomping in with the large corrugated and paper-wrapped square. "Want me to undo it?" She set it down on the piano with an offhand thump. Max Benedict raised his eyes from the Guardian foreign news page. His face today had the bluish pallor of a lightless bulb. His movements were heavy and slow, as if he had to plan each one beforehand. In kinesiological terms of direction and muscle power, this inertia was not relaxation, but the wary avoidance of pain. Just the same, when Dee laid down the parcel, a light came on in his eyes. He half lifted a hand, and then let it fall. "Not just at the moment, thanks, Dee," he said mildly. "Rhys Evans is due round quite soon. No need to have a lot of string and clutter lying around when he arrives." "He won't be along for hours yet," sniffed Dee. "I noticed him having coffee with the matron as I came by. She was training all her magnetism on him. Bet she'd do it with him in a wheelbarrow if only he'd drop the handkerchief." "Really, Dee?" His tone was weary, not affronted. Her flights of malice were more than he could be bothered to follow. "Oh, sorry. Dee was edgy these days. Her large, hearty personality had become a focus of tension. She looked at the parcel with exasperation, longing to get it unpacked, disposed of, and tidied away, yet she could not help being secretly pleased that Max seemed in no hurry to undo it. "Oh, well, if you don't want to look at it, I'll wrap up those tapes for the BBC and take them down to the messenger. Had your pills? Drink of lemon barley? Right, I'll be back in half an hour or so." As soon as her firm tread had died completely away down the corridor, Max, who had listened with care, got up out of his armchair and moved slowly over to the piano. He had become weaker since Lucy's visit, and also thinner. His shoulder blades, elbow knobs, and hip bones protruded angularly from the dark silk robe he wore, but his expression was calm, intent, and purposeful. The knots in the string defeated him, however. After 2 or 3 minutes' struggle, he gave up, sweating, and looked round. A pair of nail scissors lay on the dressing table. He made his way across the room and then carefully back with them. He haggled through the tough string. The parcel was secured as well with lavish quantities of gummed brown paper tape, one layer on top of another. This had stiffened to the solidity of wood. Benedict scratched and stabbed at it unavailingly with the puny scissors. "Hellish stuff!" He was breathless, half with effort, half with rage at his own inadequacy. "If that gnat-like creature could do it up, I ought to be able to undo it. She certainly is an efficient girl, blast her." He looked with a curious sense of comfort at the address written large and black in felt tip. Max Benedict, Queen Alexandria Sanatorium, Colsham, Surrey, and the return address, equally firm, Lucy Culpepper, Poste Restante, Kirby. "I must get her playing Beethoven. Why didn't I make her while she was here?" "Hey!" Rhys Evans had come in behind him. "What goes on here? Undoing parcels? Where's your guard dog? She ought to be doing that." "Oh, she's away on some errand or other." "Well, let me do it. You sit down." "Oh, thanks, you." "What is it, a framed certificate to say you passed your RCM intermediate?" "Oh, no, Kirby, I see. You're North Country admirer. It'll be a Yorkshire pudding, a frozen slab. All you do is heat and serve." "I've never yet had genuine Yorkshire pudding," Max remarked absently. "Every time this delicacy has appeared in whatever form, and they have been numerous, somebody at the table has said, 'Ah, this isn't Yorkshire pudding as it should be,' but none of the descriptions as to what it should be have ever tallied." His tone was vague, but his eyes never moved from the lengths of paper tape that Rhys Evans was stripping with casual strength from the parcel. "Yorkshire pudding ought to crunch like toast. What shall I do with this garbage?" Rhys Evans dropped a handful on the floor and stepped on it. "Leave it there. Dee can tidy it when she comes back," Max said indifferently. "Can you undo the corrugated stuff?" "Easily." He tore it apart with one rending tug. "There you are, then. Something to hang over your bed, would it be?" He removed a last layer of Kirby advertiser. "Good heavens." "Good heavens, as you say." Rhys Evans stared blankly at the canvas he had unwrapped, and then crossed the room and stood it upright on the piano, leaning against the wall. "A Yorkshire primitive," he said with awe. "Eden as seen by a Rockdale pioneer." Max Benedict said nothing, but, as he sat looking at the picture, he began to smile. It was a smile of such pleasure that Rhys Evans, turning to glance at him, was visited by an insane thought. He could recover. There have been cases of spontaneous remission. Even now, even in his condition, I believe he could recover. I've never seen him look like that before. I don't think I've ever seen him smile before. "Adam and Eve and the serpent," Max said dreamily. "I never saw a longer serpent. Did you, Hugh? Some florets of Eden you still inhabit, but the trail of the serpent is over them all. She's got the greenness of Eden, hasn't she? That's the thing we've lost. Green never lasts at its greenest, but in Eden it did." "Lots of character about the participants, too," Rhys Evans said, grinning. "You can see Adam is an indecisive dreamer and Eve obstinate as they come. And the serpent is a species of Hamlet, blaming them both for a role he has to play. He has tied a knot in his tail from sheer tension. I always did have a soft spot for the serpent. After all, it wasn't even as if he wanted the apple for himself. It was a rotten part to be assigned. Nobody has ever assigned the part they would have chosen for themselves." Benedict looked down at his hands, thin and transparent as bunches of quills. "And that's the truth. Oh, well, let's have a look at you, shall we?" While the examination was proceeding, Dee bounced back into the room. "Well," she said, "whatever has been going on here? I never in all my born days saw such a mess. Didn't want the room untidied for Rhys Evans, huh?" "Tidy it up, will you, Dee? There's a good girl," Max said calmly. She did so, lips pressed together with ostentatious thoughtfulness. A sheet of wrapping paper drifted out from the wrappings, and she picked it up. "Here, don't you read your billet doux? This is becoming a real daddy-long-legs affair," she said to Rhys Evans, who smiled politely and said nothing. Max took the paper without comment and held it while Rhys Evans completed his check. Then he read the first line. "Dear Max, I wish I could be there when you opened this. I do wish I could have seen your face when you first looked at it." "Dear Lord," said Dee, for the first time deigning to notice the canvas on the piano. "Is that what Lucy Culpepper sent? What a weird production. It looks more like the effort of a 6-year-old to me. Is that how this famous great-aunt spends her time?" "Miss Lawrence," said Rhys Evans, glancing at his watch, "I wonder if you could spare a moment to come down to my office with me and collect a couple of books I promised to lend to Mr. Benedict. You will? That's so kind of you. I must really get on. I'm an hour behind schedule as it is." Pausing after he had ushered Dee out the door, he said, "Didn't you tell me that Ritzstein is coming to see you one day this week?" "Wednesday." Max raised his eyes briefly from the letter. "I wonder what he'll make of the Rockdale Eden," Rhys Evans said, and gently closed the door behind him. "I do wish I could have seen your face when you first opened it. I do wish I could have seen your face when you first looked at it." Max raised his eyes to the blank wall opposite. He had no need to make such a wish. He saw her face continually, pale, freckled, alert, looking up through a fine spray of hair like some friendly sea urchin. He knew its contours by heart. He enveloped her with thought all day long, quarrying out her outline from the cliff of his ignorance, brooding, speculating, probing, discarding. Each letter from her directed his exploration to a new quarter. "No, but Max, don't you think it is a beautiful picture? And it is just like Aunt Fennel herself. When you meet her, you must meet her, Max, you'll love her. You feel that she is completely innocent and good, and also slightly mad, or at least off-center. Her values are quite individual, not formed at all from anybody else's. Do you suppose this is genius? Or a kind of genius, anyway? You have genius too, I know, but I didn't get this feeling about you, that you hardly realized the rest of the world existed. On the contrary, your separation from the world seemed to cause you distress. I hope I don't distress you more by saying this. I'd like to think that Aunt Fennel's picture will give you back a little bit of the world. I must stop now. I bought some paper and string at a stationer's, and I'm parceling up the picture at Kirby Post Office tomorrow after the dentist. I take Aunt Fennel up to Wildfell Hall, where I'm going to help look after her and all the old things with measles for a couple of weeks. I hate to waste even this much time from our lessons, Max, but I do have an extraordinary bond with Aunt Fennel. I simply can't leave her till I'm sure she's okay, and it's good to feel useful and needed. I'm sure you understand. I feel this bond with you, too, but the minute I have Aunt F comfortably settled, I'm coming south. Love from Lucy. P.S. Remember the Carados girl I mentioned in the earlier letter? I found out a funny thing. Tell you in my next, but I may not be able to write for a while. Bother this postal strike.
Useful and needed, Max said bitterly. Who's useful and needed? Rhys Evans had come back. Left my stethoscope behind, he explained blandly, strolling over to take another look at Aunt Fennel's Green Eden. I thought you were an hour behind schedule. What have you done with Dee?
Set her arranging my books. I thought she seemed to be getting you down a bit. Who's useful and needed?
I don't seem to be, for one. That girl's becoming more and more involved with getting her great aunt settled. I'm beginning to have a premonition about her lessons.
What sort of premonition?
Rhys asked uneasily. Oh, I suppose that too many things will conspire to delay her, and she'll come south just too late, that I'll never teach her.
And we'll pause there.